Hi, my name is Toby, President of MOS USA. Today I'll go over with you the TM compatibility of Arcturus Vanguard series of high kappa. During development, we made it one of our priority to design within parameters of TM compatibility while improving upon the base design for improved durability, efficiency, and performance. So here we have our 5.1 Arcturus Vanguard high kappa as well as a TM 5.1 high kappa. First, we'll test our Arcturus magazine. So we'll test it in the TM 5.1. Locks back. Here we have our TM magazine in our Arcturus Vanguard. It also locks back. So next we'll move on to the slide assembly. We'll have our TM slide and upper fitting onto our Arcturus lower frame. The newest batch of TM high kappa is magazine stop might have a bigger diameter. The old high kappas are within 5mm, which our high kappa has followed. So you can see here is 4.87. So everything functions correctly. We also test the Arcturus slide onto a TM lower. Arcturus magazine. Everything functions correctly. So let's go a little bit more into details of the upper assembly. First, we'll test the guide rod and recoil assembly. Putting our Arcturus set into the TM set. So it fits correctly. So everything fits correctly. Now we use the TM set into our Arcturus slide assembly. Functions beautifully. Our spring rate is very similar to TM. So it will give you very similar speed of recoil and also slide return strength. The material is stainless steel, so it is a little bit more durable than TM's die-cast aluminum or zinc alloy. So next we'll do a inner barrel and outer barrel comparison. So in the Arcturus design, we opted for a fixed barrel design, which means your outer barrel is locked into with your inner barrel pop-up assembly. So this way it will give you better stability when you're trying to mount a tracer unit. Also, when doing cycling, the outer barrel will not move back and forth. So the TM unit, as you can see, during recoil, it can slide forward and backward. Let's test the frame compatibility. So even though the shape is a little bit different in the back, it's still compatible with TM. So the Arcturus outer barrel assembly will fit very tightly into a TM lower. Same thing with the TM style outer barrel assembly. You'll also install into the Arcturus a little bit more loosely, but you will function correctly. Next, we'll take a closer look into the blowback unit and rear sight. One thing to know, our rear sight is spring-loaded. You can use it for elevation adjustment. First, we do a quick compatibility test between the rear sights. So we have the Arcturus rear sight. Now try to install it onto the TM slide. Clicks in very firmly and positively. So now let's try the TM sight on a Arcturus slide. A little bit tight, but it does fit in. Next, we'll compare the blowback unit. So this is the stock TM unit. I'll attempt to drop into the Arcturus slide and just demonstrate compatibility. So clicks right into place with very tight fitment. So TM blowback unit will fit correctly onto a Arcturus slide. Now we try out the Arcturus blowback unit in a TM slide. So yeah, once again fits correctly and your nozzle movement is smooth and without anything getting caught in there. So now let's compare between the nozzle. So this is a Arcturus nozzle. In our case, we opted to go with the standard 13.8mm inner diameter. So next, let's measure the TM nozzle. So TM nozzle on a Arcturus blowback unit. Slides perfect. Seal also feels very positive. Let's also try a TM nozzle on a Arcturus blowback unit. Slides held with just about the right amount of resistance. So one of the things we did improve is the weight of the blowback unit. The lighter your blowback unit is, the less mass your gas has to be consumed to move the slide during cycle. So this is a standard TM unit, 150 gram roughly. So now let's weigh the Arcturus unit. Roughly 10 grams lighter. Let me put everything together and we'll do a deeper dive on the frame or the lower of the pistols. So number one, we'll do a material comparison. The TM high kappa utilizes a die-cast zinc slide release. So for Arcturus, we utilize steel MIM construction for our slide release. TM slide release, so the body of the release is not steel, but the shaft is. With Arcturus, the entire body of slide release is complete steel. Every single fire control component in the Arcturus high kappa is built from steel. So you can see the hammer will stick, the release will stick. Safety on both sides would be, as well as your magazine release. So if we do the same test on the high kappa, so none of these components were made out of steel. Okay, let's now take them apart a little bit more to see further what their compatibility looks like. So the first component we'll be testing is the hammer spring unit. So first we'll take the TM unit and then try it out in our Arcturus grip. So it functions correctly, everything fits correctly. Same thing with the Arcturus hammer spring housing. Everything functions correctly and the pins are the same size. Next, we'll take off the grip unit to test their fitment onto the frame. So now we have our Arcturus frame unit mating to a TM lower frame. Very good fit. And then if we try to put it on with a screw, so yep, everything fits. TM lower frame, and then we'll try to put on a Arcturus lower grip unit. So yep, same thing, very good fit. One of the features that we have for our Arcturus Vanguard series of high kappa is the switchable magazine release. So I'll demonstrate how to swap the magazine release from left to right. Take a T6 Torx and then loosen the screw right here. Lower the locking piece and then drop your entire magazine on the side with the spring. Do not lose the spring. So now we can try to swap the release to the other side. Put your spring in this perch right here. Now insert it into the orientation that you would like. Use your finger to hold it down so we don't lose the spring. On the other side, lock in your locking piece. Simply screw it back in. Now you have your left-handed magazine release. In order to use the left side magazine release, you will have to use the Arcturus high kappa magazine, which has a extra magazine release perch in order to lock it in place. If you try it with the standard TM spec, you will not be able to insert your magazine correctly and you will not see. Now let's bring our focus more on the safety. So in this case, we do have my personal high kappa. Currently utilizes Airsoft Masterpiece MB Safety to show you how compatible our high kappa is with aftermarket parts. Do be careful when you take off the safety that there is a detent under spring tension and you will fly out during disassembly. Make sure to catch it with your hand so it does not fly out. Grip safety at the same time will also come out. Same thing on the Arcturus. So the most important part to ensure cross compatibility is the shape of these features right here, which will enable your safety, your hammer block and trigger block. These geometries are almost identical between the three. We'll test for the TM left side safety. So with the safety on, trigger pulled no longer functions. So with the safety off, it will function correctly. So the TM safety is compatible with Arcturus. Let's try out the aftermarket Airsoft Masterpiece safety. Same thing, on the safe position, it blocks it from functioning. With the trigger pulled, hammer will drop free. Let's do a reverse compatibility test. So this is the Arcturus safety on a TM lower. So it does fit. So with it up, pulling the trigger, safety functions correctly. Safety off, pulling the triggers here, everything functions correctly as well. I'll put on both sides of the Arcturus onto our TM frame, demonstrate that it does fit correctly and the width, everything will fit correctly as well. While we're at it, we'll do a quick test of the grip safety. As you might notice on Arcturus Vanguard, we do come with a out-of-the-box grip safety delete. It's simply achieved by having a geometry where as soon as you have your grip installed, the grip safety is pushed forward in a off position. So this case will give the user a more comfortable shooting experience. So this will also function in a TM spec lower. Same thing with a TM grip safety on a Arcturus frame. This one's a little bit tighter, but it does function. Next, we'll compare the fire control groups. So our fire control group consists of the hammer, disconnect, sear, the valve knocker on the left side. We'll use our motor to demonstrate the material. So your sear is made out of steel, disconnect, and your hammer component. So on the TM, the hammer is not made out of steel, but your trigger connecting rod is. Trigger sear, and your disconnect. These are all die casts. Now let's see if we can swap in a Arcturus set onto a TM lower frame. First a disconnect, hammer, sear, no problem. Also your lower left side assembly. So it is a very good fit. Everything still functions. Disconnect. Same thing on the Arcturus frame. We'll try to install our TM component. So first let's test if the sear engages correctly. It does, and then we put the trigger, simulate pushing for the sear. It functions correctly. Also using the TM left side of the frame. Also fits correctly. We make sure that even if you're attempting to swap individual component between the two, the shape and tolerance geometry are similar enough where you'll most likely work. One-to-one comparison between components, disconnect to disconnect. The geometry is one-to-one. Same thing with the hammer. The most important geometries are the same. In the Arcturus, we do have our half-cocked sear cut off to improve the smoothness of your hammer and also decrease the amount of spring tension needed to open a CO2 magazine. But other than that, the geometry are the same. Same thing on the sear in geometry and can be swapped one-to-one. Or the valve knockers, these are also cross-compatible. We are very compatible with TN spec while using superior materials such as MIM steel components. And you can use our components to upgrade your high kappa or use a wide range of aftermarket available components to upgrade our Arcturus high kappa. So for more information, please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and we'll see you next time.